Now for the biggest stories of the week. Amber and Adam, I'm going to show you all a clip package referencing a major news event that happened this week. You got to watch the montage and tell us what's the story. Here we go.
People are at the TV store. Yeah. Little clown doing a little dance and fired.
That's actually election day in about 9 days. Must have fired.
Well, thank you for the optimism. The story is traditional media outlets are being criticized for glossing over Trump's erratic behavior for fear of appearing biased. The media's been using a fun new word for this phenomenon. Does anyone know what that word is?
Stupidity.
Sane wash.
Oh, yeah.
Let's find out.
Sane washing.
Sane washing.
Sane washed.
He's been sane washed, which is now an expression.
Yes, and if you thought sane washing used to be called gaslighting, you're probably crazy.
It's them actually being really nice, because the only other way to describe Trump is crackhead at this point. Because remember he was dancing at that thing for like 30 minutes? It's like only crackheads do that, just, right? Stand in the same place and dance for 30 minutes, right?
Don't clap for How does CNN's Van Jones describe the difference between the coverage of Trump and the coverage of Vice President Harris?
Oh, I know this one. He said, Trump, I think, gets to be lawless and she has to be flawless.
Here's Van Jones.
He gets to be lawless. She has to be flawless.
Come on.
Yeah, teammate.
That's what I'm talking about.
But it's maddening that they have to do their best to find flaws in what Kamala is saying and doing.
Right.
But this man is a toddler with his pants pulled down, doing whatever he wants, but she has to be perfect. And it is a lot like being a black lady. It is bananas.
Okay, so then to that point, is Kamala being held to a different standard?
100%. Every time Trump speaks, he basically just does armpit farts and everybody laughs. And then at the end of the day, he's like, there you go, vote for me. Nobody knows what Donald Trump stands for.
Speaking as a black lady, I just want to say that...
You're not a black lady. Yes, you're strong. Yes, you're beautiful.
And proud, and proud.
And you are quite proud.
He's so close. Oh, my
So
God.
close. You almost have liked it. Very close.
How has Vice President Harris explained her shifting positions on things like fracking and policing?
She explained that when she was first talking about fracking, that she had her fingers crossed behind her back.
Here's the Madam Vice President.
If a perspective needs to be informed by different points of view to build consensus and to have a common sense approach.
I'm not a fan of people changing their mind or having principles.
If she is sitting, look, I was a senator from California, then I was vice president for 4 years. I kind of learned something, I changed. We should be encouraging. And by the way, politicians used to actually kind of, in the old days, say one thing to make it through a primary and then move to the center.
There was another word that the media's moved on to describe Trump.
I think it's fascist.
Let's find out.
Fascist.
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 Fascist. Fascist. Fascist. Do you think Donald Trump is a fascist?
Yes, I do.
Larry Wilmer.
Funny because it's true.
This week, U.S. Marine Corps General and former Trump Chief of Staff John Kelly did an interview with the New York Times that ran on page 12. What did the former Chief of Staff say about Trump?
He's a fascist. I feel like we just went over this.
Kelly technically didn't call Trump a fascist, but he did say Trump, quote, certainly falls into the general definition of fascist for sure. I'm not saying Larry Wilmore's black, but he falls into the definition of black when you think about black.
What is the general definition of fascism? I happen to write it down just because I thought this might come up. A populist political philosophy that exalts nation and often race above the individual, headed by a dictatorial leader.
So your phone is broke.
Yeah, no kidding. That's a good point.
Hey, Siri.
General Kelly also reminded people that on multiple occasions, Trump has said, quote, you know, Hitler did some good things too. I like what he did in that bunker at the end.
That was my favorite moment.
That was a good part.
That was my favorite.
That claim also backs up a piece in The Atlantic this week that stated 2 people overheard Trump saying, quote, I need the kind of generals that Hitler had.
I just really wish there was an old Nazi somewhere that says, I knew Hitler. Hitler was a friend of mine. Donald Trump, you are no Hitler.
Fox News gave Trump a pass for his statements. How did Fox News explain Trump's Hitler's general comments?
I think he defended it, actually.
Let's hear it from Brian Kilmeade.
And I could absolutely see him going out, you know what? It would be great to have German generals that actually do what we asked them to do, knowing that's a third, maybe not fully being cognizant of the third rail of German generals who are Nazis and whatever.
So just to be clear, maybe Trump's so stupid he didn't know the Nazis was bad. That's his defense.
Yeah, basically, yeah.
If Trump was really a fascist, he would be out to attack the media. Tell me what went down between Trump and CBS.
He's either suing them or said he would pull their license.
He threatened to sue him by doubling down on his post that CBS should have its broadcast license revoked for their 60 Minutes interview with Vice President Harris.
Yeah, that sounds First Amendment-y.
Yeah. He went after CBS, but that's just that could be an anomaly.
That's probably all it was.
Yeah.
That's it.
What did Trump say about ABC?
No.
He said it's the beginning of the alphabet, and that's why he loves it.
He said, always be clothing.
He said it's his favorite Jackson 5 song.
That's right.
Trump said the exact same thing about ABC that he said about CBS, but this time he did it in his natural habitat of Fox and Friends.
They're a news organization. They have to be licensed to do it. They ought to take away their license.
I understand getting mad at the network, though. I got mad at ABC when they canceled Castle. But alas, one brave journalist is giving voters a new framework for a second Trump presidency. Does anyone know who this brave new architect is?
Junior? Yeah. Donald Trump Jr.?
It's Tucker Carlson.
Oh, sure.
Good. That's
Who is the pioneer of something that I would like to call spankwashing.
When Dad gets home, you know what he says? You've been a bad girl. You've been a bad little girl, and you're getting a vigorous spanking right now.
Question to the panel, what's the creepiest thing you've ever seen in your life?
That's some repressed stuff over there.
There's more.
You're getting a vigorous spanking because you've been a bad girl.
What's weird is the metaphor ran out a long time ago.
It's pretty gross, but it's fine because he doesn't have children, right?
Tucker has kids.
I think he has kids. Yeah.
Can they be taken away? Save them.
The story is, if it walks like a duck and talks like a duck and says that Duck Hitler had some good ideas, that's a fascist duck. Michael and Larry, your turn. Watch the clip.
Okay.
And tell me what's the story.
All right, that's voting.
Voting.
That's
Election.
That's a referee.
Election rules.
We're canceling this contract.
Voting machine.
Oh, that's the.
This is disinformation, right? About voting.
They're setting the table for challenges to the election.
Points for y'all. Nicely done.
We're so good at this, you
The
guys.
story.
We are so good at this.
That was a very black-ass dap y'all gave me.
Can I be honest? I didn't understand what was happening because I knew there was a real dap and I didn't know how to do
It's
it. Will you
okay.
just show me?
Yeah. See,
Don't you
as we're
show
going-
him the secrets. Show
I'll
him the
show you
basic
later.
interracial dap, but don't give him the triple.
You're right, Roy. I'll show you later, Michael.
When I get my vigorous spanking?
When your journey as a black woman is complete.
The story is Republican efforts to undermine election integrity ahead of November 5th. Sing along if you know the words.
If there was no cheating, if God came down from a high and said, I am going to be your vote tabulator.
God would wake up from a 9-year coma and be like, y'all voted for who?
It's just the same play over and over again.
I love that they think that all those ballots were thrown away or whatever, except for the ones that the Republicans won on. Somehow those miraculously got through.
Actually, in 2020, after they were lying about this, that was the best question I'd ask my colleagues is like, well, you won your district. Was that fraudulent? There's no answer to that ever.
But I do feel like you all are being a little bit presumptuous because Trump and J.D. Vance have already come out this year and said that they will accept the results of this year's presidential election on one condition.
Sure, if it's a free and fair election.
Yeah, sure, if it's a fair election.
See, that's how it's got to be.
I believe him because he was
fair.
working at McDonald's when he said it.
Yeah. With early voting just getting started, over 230 Republican candidates on the ballot are already calling it unfair. What kind of things are they saying about early voting?
Illegals voting.
Yeah, while
There's
they're
all
not
these-
eating your cats and dogs, they're voting.
Yeah.
Yeah, they have time. Exactly. That's exactly right.
Cat burrito, that's what I got.
Yo, that one deserves a dap, Roy.
I don't know.
Soon we will dap. According to the Washington Post, they're saying there's non-citizens voting, and they're saying that Biden dropping out and VP Harris taking over was a coup. I think we all agree, you can't call anything a coup in America until somebody shits on Nancy Pelosi's desk.
Yeah.
You were there on January 6th.
Wow.
You were in the chamber.
Yeah.
What was that like?
It was the worst day I've ever experienced.
Yeah.
Not just because of the violence and the fear, but like, I saw that this was happening to America. Like, this is something that can't happen here. And yeah, it was a terrible day. And, all my colleagues, for the most part, agreed with me until they didn't.
Were there any elected officials that tried to come and hide in your office that you didn't like? And you was like, you get your ass out there.
I'd have pushed out Ted Cruz. If he would've.
It would have been a great opportunity to shit on his desk. No one would have known.
Speaking of election integrity, the RNC is training an army of poll watchers to, quote, protect the vote. What are battleground states doing to protect election officials from Trump's army?
I think this is where the flashpoint's going to be. It's not going to be in D.C. on January 6th.
Right.
It's going to be during the certification process at state houses. And the problem is, you can give me a security detail. I was a national figure, whatever. But in a county, if you have like 10 people that need police protection, you probably only have 10 cops in that county. So it becomes impossible.
Here's the security setup for the little old ladies counting the votes in Maricopa County, Arizona.
Get this, they will have snipers on the roof, metal detectors, and security at every entrance, drones surveilling overhead, and security cameras and floodlights to help law enforcement monitor this area.
That's all you got to do. You want to protect voting, just lock it up the way you do all that shit at the pharmacy. Excuse me, miss, could you come unlock my democracy? Does anybody know how many states the RNC has active election lawsuits in?
81.
I get that. I get that.
Here's RNC co-chair Laura Trump with the official number.
We have lawsuits in 81 states right now.
Yeah.
Wait, try it again.
That was good.
Follow-up question just from Michael.
Uh-oh.
Name all 81 states. Republicans are also calling foul about Democrats interfering with the certification process. What specifically are they worried about?
About them following the Constitution?
Yep.
Republicans are worried about VP Kamala Harris, who's playing the role of Mike Pence in the 2024 election.
As vice president, Kamala Harris is tasked with certifying the election.
We shouldn't have the vice president, Kamala Harris, have some sort of unilateral authority to reject the electors.
This has never happened before. Let's ask Al Gore if he certified the election in 2000 and what that felt like.
If Kamala is there to certify her own contested election, who's considered to be Trump's ace in the hole in the event of a contested election?
Speaker?
It's Speaker Mike Johnson.
There you go.
Who tried to help overturn the 2020 election and will be in charge of certifying the 2024 election. But don't y'all worry, because Mike Johnson has said he'll accept the outcome of the 2024 election on one condition.
Of course, if we have a free, fair, and safe election, we're going to follow the Constitution, absolutely.
But otherwise, we won't follow the Constitution. By the way, in 2020, leading up to January 6th, he was the driver of that stuff. He drove those lawsuits, and he was actually very responsible for the lead up to January 6th.
Are you guys
and
still
now
in
he's
touch?
Speaker.
Or?
Yeah, we get a beer on occasion, but nothing big.